In today's episode, we're looking at 5 people who were eaten alive during African safaris. From a wildlife photography student who trusted textbooks around lions, to a eco-tourism guide trainee who misjudged a musk elephant. Let's begin with the first story where academic brilliance couldn't overcome the brutal reality of predator behavior. It was August 14, 2013, and the South African sun blazed mercilessly over Kruger National Park's vast wilderness. The landscape stretched endlessly, golden grasslands punctuated by scattered acacia trees and rocky outcroppings that had witnessed countless predator encounters over millennia. Sarah Mitchell had dreamed of this moment for years. At 29, she was a graduate student in wildlife biology at the University of Cape Town, working on her master's thesis about lion social behavior patterns. This was her first independent field research trip, and her small frame had given her overconfidence about moving undetected around dangerous wildlife. The research expedition included 6 graduate students and 2 experienced guides, studying predator behavior across different territories within the park. Sarah's specific focus was documenting social dynamics within lion prides, particularly the role of subordinate females in hunting strategies. She'd been in the park for 5 days, meticulously recording observations from research vehicles, but was growing frustrated with limited photographic opportunities. African lions are apex predators perfectly evolved for coordinated hunting. Adult females typically weigh between 265 and 395 pounds, capable of reaching speeds of 50 miles per hour in short bursts. Their night vision is 6 times better than humans, and they possess incredible stealth abilities, allowing them to approach prey undetected across open terrain. Lions hunt cooperatively, with females working together to surround and isolate targets. During lunch break on their 6th day, the research group had stopped near a watering hole where guides were preparing field rations. Sarah spotted movement 200 meters away, a pride of 7 lions exhibiting fascinating social behaviors directly related to her thesis research. 2 adult females were engaged in what appeared to be a dominance display, while 3 cubs played nearby. Sarah grabbed her camera equipment and field notebook, her excitement overriding safety protocols. Her guide Johannes immediately called out warnings about maintaining safe distances, but Sarah dismissed his concerns. She'd studied these behavioral patterns in dozens of research papers and believed she understood the lion's body language well enough to approach safely. She left the vehicle group and began walking toward the pride, staying low and moving slowly as her textbooks described. The lions appeared focused on their internal social dynamics, paying no attention to her approach. Sarah positioned herself behind a large termite mound, about 80 meters from the pride, believing this provided adequate cover while giving her perfect observation angles. For 20 minutes, Sarah documented the lions' interactions with detailed notes and photographs. What she didn't realize was that one adult female had noticed her presence from the beginning. The lioness had been using tall grass and scattered brush to circle around Sarah's position, approaching from the blind side of the termite mound. Sarah first became aware of danger when she heard grass rustling directly behind her. She turned to see the lioness just 15 feet away, crouched in hunting position with muscles tensed for attack. As she tried to stand, her foot caught in her equipment bag strap. She fell backward, her camera and notebook scattering across the ground. The lioness interpreted this sudden movement as flight behavior. She launched herself forward, covering the distance in 2 powerful bounds. Her front paws slammed into Sarah's chest, driving her flat against the ground with crushing force. The lioness's jaws clamped down on Sarah's neck and shoulder, her canine teeth puncturing deep into vital arteries. The lioness shook her head violently, her powerful neck muscles snapping bone with each movement. 2 other females from the pride arrived within seconds, joining the attack with their claws raking across Sarah's torso and legs, while the first lioness maintained her grip. The research team realized Sarah was missing when she failed to return for afternoon departure. Johannes organized an immediate search, following her tracks toward the lion pride's location. They found her body 3 hours later, partially concealed under thorn bushes, where the lions had dragged her. The South African National Parks Authority conducted a thorough investigation, reviewing the research group's safety protocols and interviewing all team members. They determined that Sarah had violated established guidelines by approaching dangerous wildlife on foot without guide supervision. Sarah's memorial service was held at the University of Cape Town, where professors and fellow students remembered her passion for wildlife research. Sarah's academic knowledge couldn't protect her from a predator's hunting instincts. For Marcus Chen, it was his desire to demonstrate fearless leadership that led him into crocodile-infested waters. It was June 3, 2014, and the Okavango Delta stretched like a vast green maze across northern Botswana. Channels of crystal-clear water wound between islands of papyrus and reed beds, creating one of Africa's most pristine wilderness areas. But beneath these seemingly peaceful waters lurked some of Africa's most dangerous predators. Marcus Chen had spent months planning this conservation expedition. At 34, he was a marine biology graduate from UC San Diego, who'd transitioned into conservation work after completing his doctorate. He was leading a 6-person volunteer group documenting water quality changes in the Delta. Marcus was methodical and safety-conscious when managing his team, but he sometimes took unnecessary personal risks to demonstrate what he called fearless leadership to his volunteers. The volunteer group consisted of recent college graduates and career change professionals, all paying substantial fees to participate in meaningful conservation work. Marcus felt pressure to provide them with authentic wilderness experiences while maintaining their safety, a balance that sometimes led him to push boundaries he wouldn't cross with more experienced researchers. Nile crocodiles are among Africa's most dangerous predators, capable of remaining motionless for hours before exploding into deadly action. Adult males can reach lengths of 20 feet and weigh over 1,500 pounds, with bite forces exceeding 5,000 pounds per square inch. They're perfectly adapted for ambush hunting, able to approach prey underwater with only their eyes and nostrils visible above the surface. Once they strike, they perform a death roll, spinning rapidly to disorient prey and tear flesh from bone. The team had been in the Delta for a week, collecting water samples from various channels and documenting aquatic life populations. That morning, Marcus was leading a water quality assessment near a confluence where 2 channels merged into a deeper pool. His volunteers were positioned safely on the bank with testing equipment, while Marcus waded into the water to reach optimal sampling points. The water was murky from recent rains, limiting visibility to just a few feet below the surface. Marcus had been working in knee-deep water near the bank, but the readings suggested contamination from upstream sources. To get cleaner samples for comparison, he needed to wade deeper into the channel where the current was stronger. His volunteers expressed concern about the deeper water, mentioning crocodile warnings from their orientation briefing, but Marcus dismissed their fears as tourist paranoia, pointing out that they hadn't seen any crocodiles during their week-long stay. He believed his experience in aquatic environments would keep him safe. Marcus waded deeper into the channel, the water rising to his waist as he moved toward the center of the confluence. He was focused on his sampling equipment, carefully filling collection bottles while maintaining his balance against the current. The volunteers on shore watched nervously as he moved further from the bank. The 12-foot Nile crocodile had been lying motionless on the bottom of the channel for over an hour, perfectly camouflaged against the muddy substrate. It had detected Marcus's presence from the moment he entered the water, tracking his movements through vibrations and chemical signals. The crocodile positioned itself directly beneath Marcus, waiting for the optimal moment to strike. The attack came without warning. The crocodile exploded upward from the bottom, its massive jaws clamping down on Marcus's torso just below his ribcage. The impact lifted him completely out of the water before the crocodile's weight dragged him back down. Marcus's scream was cut short as he disappeared beneath the surface. The crocodile immediately began its death roll, spinning rapidly while maintaining its crushing grip on Marcus's body. The rotational force was devastating, breaking ribs and internal organs while the crocodile's teeth punctured deep into vital organs. Each spin drove them deeper underwater, creating a whirlpool of blood and bubbles that marked the attack site. The volunteers on shore screamed for help and tried to throw ropes into the water, but the attack was happening too far from the bank. The death roll continued for nearly a minute before the crocodile released its grip and disappeared into the deeper water, taking Marcus's body with it. Emergency rescue teams arrived within 2 hours, including experienced crocodile hunters and underwater recovery specialists. They searched the channel system for 3 days, using sonar equipment and underwater cameras. Despite extensive efforts involving multiple aircraft and boat teams, his body was never recovered from the vast delta waterways. The Botswana Department of Wildlife and National Parks conducted a comprehensive investigation, interviewing the volunteer team and reviewing safety protocols. They determined that Marcus had violated established guidelines for working in crocodile habitat and recommended enhanced safety training for all conservation groups operating in the Delta. Marcus's desire to demonstrate leadership cost him his life in waters he thought were safe. For Elena Rodriguez, it was her ambition to capture the perfect shot that put her in a tree with a hidden leopard. It was September 22, 2015, and the Masai Mara stretched endlessly under the East African sky, its golden grasslands dotted with acacia trees and rocky outcroppings that provided perfect hunting perches for the region's apex predators. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the savanna, creating the dramatic lighting that wildlife filmmakers prized above all else. Elena Rodriguez had dreamed of working in wildlife filmmaking since childhood. At 26, she was a recent film school graduate working as a camera assistant for an independent documentary crew with a minimal budget and ambitious goals. The production was attempting to capture intimate footage of leopard behavior for a nature documentary that would hopefully launch Elena's career in wildlife cinematography. She was eager to prove herself to the director and build an impressive reel. The film crew consisted of just 4 people: the director, a sound technician, Elena, and a local guide who doubled as their safety coordinator. They'd been following a female leopard for 3 days, documenting her hunting patterns and territorial behavior. The leopard had established a daytime resting spot in a large fever tree about 400 meters from their base camp. Leopards are among Africa's most elusive and dangerous predators, perfectly adapted for stealth hunting and ambush attacks. Adult females typically weigh between 60 and 130 pounds, but their compact, muscular build gives them incredible strength and agility. They're exceptional climbers, capable of hauling prey twice their weight up into trees to avoid scavengers. Leopards have the strongest bite force relative to body size of any big cat, and their retractable claws are razor-sharp tools for climbing and killing. As dusk approached on their 4th day of filming, the crew prepared to retrieve their remote camera from the fever tree. The leopard had been absent from her resting spot for several hours, presumably beginning her nightly hunt in the surrounding grasslands. Elena volunteered to climb the tree and retrieve the equipment, seeing it as an opportunity to demonstrate her technical skills and fearless attitude. Their guide expressed concern about working near the tree at dusk, when leopards typically became active, but Elena assured him she would work quickly and efficiently. The fever tree stood about 25 feet tall, with a thick trunk and sturdy branches that provided easy climbing access to the camera position. Elena began her climb as the sun touched the horizon, moving carefully up the trunk and testing each branch before committing her full weight. The camera was positioned about 20 feet up, secured to a sturdy branch with a clear view of the leopard's preferred resting area below. What Elena didn't realize was that the leopard had returned to the tree earlier than expected. The female was concealed in the dense foliage about 8 feet above the camera position, perfectly camouflaged against the dappled shadows of the upper branches. She had been resting motionless for over an hour, her spotted coat blending seamlessly with the play of light and shadow. Elena reached the camera position and began disconnecting the mounting equipment. Her attention focused on the technical details of the retrieval. She worked methodically, coiling cables and securing the expensive camera gear in her equipment bag. The Leopard watched every movement from above, her muscles tensing as this intruder invaded her territorial space. As Elena reached for the final mounting bracket, her movement caused the branch to sway slightly. The Leopard interpreted this as aggressive behavior in her territory. She dropped silently from the upper branches, landing directly on Elena's back with devastating force. Her claws immediately sank deep into Elena's shoulders and neck, while her powerful jaws clamped down on the base of Elena's skull. The impact knocked Elena off balance, but the Leopard's weight and claws kept her pinned against the tree trunk. The Leopard's bite crushed vertebrae and severed the spinal cord, causing immediate paralysis. Elena's body went limp, but the Leopard continued her attack, her powerful jaws working to crush the skull and neck. The branch couldn't support the combined weight and violent movement. It snapped with a sharp crack, sending both Elena and the Leopard plummeting 20 feet to the ground below. They hit the rocky soil with tremendous force, but the Leopard's natural agility allowed her to land in a controlled position, while Elena struck the ground headfirst. The Leopard immediately resumed her attack, her claws raking across Elena's torso while her jaws targeted the throat and face. The fall had caused massive internal injuries, but the Leopard's continued assault ensured that Elena had no chance of survival. The attack continued for several minutes before the Leopard finally retreated into the surrounding brush. The film crew realized something was wrong when Elena failed to respond to radio calls after 15 minutes. They found her body at the base of the fever tree, surrounded by scattered camera equipment and broken branches. The Kenya Wildlife Service conducted a thorough investigation, reviewing the crew's safety protocols and interviewing team members. Elena's memorial service was held in Los Angeles, where film school classmates and industry professionals remembered her passion for wildlife cinematography and her dedication to conservation storytelling. Her family established a scholarship fund for aspiring wildlife filmmakers, emphasizing safety training and proper equipment protocols. Elena's ambition to capture the perfect shot put her in a tree with a hidden predator. For David Thompson, it was his overconfidence in textbook knowledge that brought him face to face with Africa's deadliest snake. It was March 8, 2017, and the rolling hills of Hluhluwe-Imfolozi Park stretched across the KwaZulu-Natal landscape like a green carpet dotted with ancient fever trees and rocky outcroppings. This was South Africa's oldest proclaimed nature reserve, where diverse ecosystems supported incredible wildlife variety, including some of Africa's most dangerous reptiles. David Thompson was living his dream as a herpetology student interning at the park's remote research station. At 23, he was a senior biology major from the University of the Witwatersrand, specializing in venomous snake behavior and ecology. Academically gifted with encyclopedic knowledge of reptile species, David had spent countless hours studying snake behavior patterns, venom composition, and defensive strategies. But this was his first extended field experience, and his confidence in textbook knowledge sometimes led him to underestimate the unpredictable nature of wild animals. The research station was conducting a comprehensive study of snake populations across different habitat zones within the park. David's specific project involved tracking radio-collared specimens to document their movement patterns, hunting behaviors, and territorial ranges. He'd been at the station for 6 weeks, working primarily with less dangerous species while building his field experience under supervision. The black mamba is Africa's most feared snake, and for good reason. Adults can reach lengths of 14 feet and move at speeds up to 12 miles per hour, making them nearly impossible to outrun. Their venom is a potent cocktail of neurotoxins and cardiotoxins that can kill an adult human in as little as 20 minutes. Black mambas are highly aggressive when threatened, capable of striking repeatedly with lightning speed. They can raise the front third of their body off the ground, giving them a striking range of up to 8 feet. That morning, David received a radio signal from a collared black mamba. that had been inactive for several days. The 8-foot male had established territory in a rocky outcropping about 2 kilometers from the research station, and David was eager to document its behavior patterns for his research project. His supervisor was conducting fieldwork in another section of the park, leaving David to handle routine tracking operations independently. David hiked to the signal location carrying his standard field equipment: radio telemetry gear, camera, field notebook, and emergency communication device. Following the radio signal, David located the mamba coiled in a narrow crevice between 2 large boulders. The snake appeared calm and inactive, its distinctive coffin-shaped head resting on its coiled body. According to his textbook knowledge, black mambas typically maintained a safe distance of approximately 6 feet before exhibiting aggressive behavior. David positioned himself at what he calculated to be a safe observation distance and began photographing the snake's defensive posture for his research documentation. What David failed to account for was that this particular mamba was trapped in a confined space with limited escape routes. The rocky crevice that provided perfect shelter also created a defensive scenario where the snake felt cornered and threatened. Black mambas in confined spaces become exponentially more aggressive, striking at anything they perceive as blocking their escape route. As David adjusted his camera angle for better documentation, he inadvertently moved closer to the crevice opening. The mamba's head rose slightly, its tongue flicking rapidly to assess the threat level. David interpreted this as normal investigative behavior and continued his photography, believing his 6-foot distance provided adequate safety margin. The mamba struck without warning, its body uncoiling like a released spring as it launched itself toward David's position. The snake covered the distance in a fraction of a second, its fangs sinking deep into David's neck just below his jawline. The strike was so fast that David barely had time to register the movement before the venom injection was complete. The mamba released its grip and immediately struck again, this time targeting David's shoulder as he instinctively tried to back away. The second bite delivered another massive dose of neurotoxic venom directly into his bloodstream. David stumbled backward, his emergency radio falling from his hands as the first effects of the venom began to take hold. Black mamba venom attacks the nervous system with devastating efficiency. Within minutes, David began experiencing difficulty breathing as the neurotoxins paralyzed his respiratory muscles. His vision blurred, and his coordination deteriorated rapidly. He managed to activate his emergency beacon before collapsing among the rocks, his body convulsing as the venom spread through his system. The research team received David's emergency signal and immediately dispatched a helicopter rescue unit, but the rocky terrain made landing impossible, requiring a dangerous rappelling operation to reach his location. The rescue team reached David 45 minutes after the attack, but the massive venom dose had already caused complete respiratory failure. The South African National Parks Authority conducted a comprehensive investigation, reviewing David's research protocols and safety procedures. They determined that he had violated established guidelines by working alone with dangerous species and approaching closer than recommended safety distances. The incident led to mandatory 2-person teams for all venomous snake research. David's textbook knowledge couldn't protect him from a cornered predator's lightning-fast strike. For Amanda Foster, it was her confidence in reading elephant body language that led her to misinterpret the most dangerous behavioral state in the animal kingdom. It was November 11th, 2018, and the Chobe River wound through northern Botswana like a lifeline, supporting one of Africa's largest elephant populations. The landscape along the riverbank was a patchwork of floodplains, mopane woodlands, and scattered baobab trees that had witnessed countless generations of wildlife interactions. This was prime elephant habitat, where massive herds gathered during the dry season to access the permanent water source. Amanda Foster was completing the final phase of her certification as a professional walking safari guide. At 28, she was a wildlife biology graduate from the University of Botswana who'd spent 2 years learning the intricate skills required to safely lead tourists through dangerous wildlife habitat on foot. She was passionate about elephant behavior and had developed what she believed was an exceptional ability to read their body language and emotional states. Her supervisors appreciated her knowledge, but sometimes worried about her tendency to get too close to demonstrate proper observation techniques. The guide certification program required completing solo practice walks through designated areas of Chobe National Park, demonstrating competency in wildlife tracking, safety protocols, and emergency procedures. Amanda was conducting her final solo assessment, a 6-hour trek through elephant habitat that would complete her professional certification requirements. African elephants are the largest land mammals on Earth, with adult bulls weighing up to 14,000 pounds and standing 13 feet tall at the shoulder. They possess incredible intelligence and complex social structures, but they're also capable of explosive violence when threatened or agitated. Bull elephants in musth, a periodic condition of heightened testosterone and aggression, are among the most dangerous animals in Africa. During musth, bulls become unpredictably aggressive, attacking anything they perceive as a challenge or threat. Amanda's route took her through a section of Mopane woodland where elephant sign was abundant. Fresh dung, broken branches, and well-worn paths indicating regular use by large herds. She was documenting animal tracks and behavioral evidence when she encountered a lone bull elephant about 100 meters ahead, feeding quietly on Mopane leaves. The bull was a massive specimen, probably weighing close to 12,000 pounds with impressive tusks that marked him as a mature breeding male. Amanda immediately noticed the telltale signs of musth: temporal gland secretions streaming down his face, constant urine dribbling, and the characteristic swollen temporal glands. Any experienced guide would have immediately retreated from such a dangerous encounter. But Amanda saw this as an opportunity to demonstrate her expertise in elephant behavior assessment. She believed she could safely observe the bull's musth behavior while maintaining proper distance, then use the encounter as evidence of her advanced field skills during her certification review. Amanda positioned herself behind a large termite mound about 80 meters from the bull, believing this provided adequate safety distance while allowing detailed behavioral observation. She began documenting the elephant's musth indicators in her field notebook, noting the intensity of temporal gland secretions and the frequency of aggressive posturing. What Amanda failed to recognize was that this particular bull was in peak musth condition, the most dangerous phase when testosterone levels reach their highest point. The elephant's body language showed extreme agitation, ears spread wide, head held high, and constant trunk movements testing the air for threats or challenges. The bull detected Amanda's presence within minutes, his acute sense of smell identifying the human scent despite her downwind position. Bulls in musth view any presence in their territory as a potential challenge, and this elephant began displaying increasingly aggressive behavior. Head shaking, mock charges, and trumpet calls that echoed across the woodland. Amanda recognized these as warning signs, but believed she could demonstrate proper retreat techniques by backing away slowly while maintaining visual contact with the elephant. Her training had emphasized the importance of not running from elephants, as this could trigger chase behavior. She began moving backward toward a cluster of large mopane trees. The bull elephant charged without further warning. His massive bulk accelerated with shocking speed, covering the 80-meter distance in less than 15 seconds. Amanda turned to run toward the trees, but the elephant's 25-mile-per-hour charge speed made escape impossible across the open ground. The bull caught Amanda just 20 meters from the tree line. His trunk wrapped around her torso, lifting her completely off the ground before slamming her down with tremendous force. The impact shattered multiple ribs and caused massive internal injuries, but the elephant wasn't finished with his attack. He used his tusks to gore Amanda's body, the ivory points puncturing deep into her chest and abdomen. Then he began trampling, his massive feet crushing bones and organs with each step. The attack continued for several minutes as the bull vented his must-fueled aggression on the perceived threat. When Amanda failed to return to base camp by the scheduled time, search teams were immediately dispatched. A helicopter crew located her body the following morning, identifying the location by circling vultures and the distinctive signs of elephant attack. The bull was still in the area, showing no concern for the aircraft overhead. The Botswana Department of Wildlife and National Parks conducted a thorough investigation, reviewing Amanda's training records and the circumstances of the encounter. They determined that she had violated safety protocols by approaching a bull elephant in musth and failing to retreat immediately upon recognizing the danger signs. Amanda's confidence in reading elephant body language led her to misinterpret the most dangerous behavioral state in the animal kingdom. For James Mitchell, it was his determination to prove his courage that brought him within striking distance of Africa's most patient predator. Thanks for watching. Just when you think that Africa's predators don't distinguish between researchers and prey, we're just getting started. Click the next video for the next stories that will show you anyone can be a prey.